Howdy, everyone. Welcome. It is Tilson Live. It's Tuesday. It's 2 o'clock, maybe a hair after. We are coming at you live. We are for sure live on YouTube. We think we're live on Facebook. There may be a delay.
We're working on it. Yeah.
We're working on it. So not that any of you on Facebook can hear us, but if you're on YouTube, you are going to get our undivided attention today. But anyway, we're so glad you're joining us. Jump in if you are live with us. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're building. Tell us what part of the process you are in. We are here to talk to you as we are each and every single week about all things building on your land. I'm Eric Allard, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family, joined, as I am each and every week, who I've been stalling for, Dawn Dantzler, Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience. Good afternoon, Dawn. How are you?
Eric? So Facebook doesn't seem to want to play with us today, so I'm trying to
nearly close to 200 episodes. We are.
Facebook's like, no, thank you. I don't want to play with you today.
We are, in fact, humans.
I know, right?
And I think, what is it called? Is Facebook shadow banning us? They're not shadow banning us, are they?
I don't think so. I don't think we did anything that upset them quite that badly. But hey, who knows? Who knows?
Nonetheless, we are joined on YouTube for sure. So jump in again. Tell us where you're watching from, where you're building. We are working on some technical issues on the Facebook side. Meta, we've reached out to. I've left a message with Mark Zuckerberg. Expecting a phone call back any minute. I'm sure he'll jump on and help. But outside of that, we will be coming at you live on YouTube for sure. And Dawn, what are we talking about today?
We are going to talk about the frequently asked questions that people have about building on their land and building with Tilson.
There we go. So we know it's a very different process than the production subdivision build. A lot of people don't realize that because our model homes and design centers look very similar to others you might see out in the wild. But what you'll find out is it is a very different process when you're building on your own land, when you're having to develop the property itself. Talk about things like utilities, talk about things like site preparation, permitting. How do I get water to the site? Do I drill a well? How do I get a septic permit? How do I get an address? I don't even have an address of where I'm going to be building. How do I get that? So we have some of these frequently asked questions along with more normal ones like, how do I pay for this thing? How do I get financing? How's that different from what I might do in a production subdivision? What is construction like? Who's my point of contact? What happens if I have questions? What happens if something goes wrong? Who handles that? Who's responsible for what? And then how does the warranty work? We have all of these questions lined up for you, but the main questions we want are from you. So if you have questions about any part of the process whatsoever, whether you're just considering doing this, you're just kind of starting your journey, the idea of this more independent lifestyle away from this production subdivision you've been in, served a great purpose, great place for kids to go to school, super convenient to restaurants and your work, but you're maybe tired of that, ready for a change. That's what we're here to help with. So if you got questions about any of that, again, jump in, tell us where you're watching from, where you're building, what part of the process you're in, and any and all questions you might have. Dawn, it looks like YouTube is in fact delivering. So who's joining us so far?
YouTube is delivering. So we have Misty, who is joining us from Mansfield, building a San Jacinto extra large. I like that. Yeah, we saw those plans. It's amazing. Yeah, in Hood County. So awesome. Welcome, Misty. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.
And then we have Joe, who's coming at us from Como County, and he is in New Braunfels.
Specifically New Braunfels. All right. Well, Joe, welcome. And obviously, folks, as you jump in, again, tell us where you're watching from, where you're building, what part of the process you're in. We want to hear from you. And most importantly, what kind of questions you might have about this process. Maybe we can post this one later to Facebook for folks, but, whatever. It was bound to happen at some point.
It was. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying. I'm ready to give up. But
all right. So
we did our best.
We have done our best. But yeah, we know there's some frequently asked questions. So I know we got some probably canned ones that we can kick off that we can start answering. But really, the magic of this entire interaction comes from you guys. We do this for you so that you have all the information you need for you and your family to make the best decision long term for fulfilling this dream of building on your own land. So what's cooking?
All right. Well, let's get up. We do have some pre-done questions that we always get that get asked pretty commonly. On the first one, Eric, I know I don't actually have a slide prepped for it, but we always get asked, how long is it going to take?
How long does it take? So it is a two-part answer, as at least two-part answer. So with build on your lot, you've got the two distinct portions of it. You have the pre-start or the pre-construction process, which is a much larger undertaking than with production. Not to scare you, but because it's one we have tons of experience with. In fact, we have the most experience of that, for sure, in Texas and arguably the United States. So we can help you with that part. And then there's the actual construction of the home, which that's actually very, very similar to production. But the biggest difference is that upfront start time. So when we talk about the total process, I talk about the whole thing. From the time that you give your deposit to Tilson, this is the plan that you want, to the time that you close and move in construction. 12 to 14 months is a great time frame right now. We have some that are getting done as little as 10 months total, and some that are going a little bit further out to that 16, 18-month mark. A lot of that has to do with where it's being built. So not only just from a getting labor out to the spot, but more importantly, municipalities, property owners associations, subdivisions that kind of drag out that front end process, and in some cases the back end process. But we have seen times come down tremendously over the last year. But I typically tell people allow 4 months or so for that upfront pre-construction part of the process, because you got a lot of design, a lot of permitting, a lot of engineering, color selections, that kind of stuff, soil testing, POA approvals, city subdivision, whatever approvals, and then about 9 months of construction, 9 to or so of construction, in some cases significantly less than that. I know Justin's goal is 225 days, so that's closer to that 7.5, 8 month mark. So total time there's about 13 months. So we're saying 12 to 14, but that is the current time frame right now, broadly speaking, across the state, with a very few exceptions of some pockets. Okay. So I know Dawn's talking, so she's saying that he doesn't have water, electricity, or septic.
Sorry.
All right. So Joe, great. That's actually how most of our customers start out. A couple of things. So we'll tackle all three of those, right? So water, that's going to be a pretty easy one. And a lot of this you're going to find out is kind of looking around or talking to neighbors, right? So if we're looking at water, you can look around and say, okay, do my neighbors have a water well? In other words, do you see tanks or things like that, or little bitty kind of small looking houses that look like they may be housing a water well or water well equipment? Or does your place have community water? It may not be actual city water. It may be what's called community water, which means somebody has drilled a large well somewhere. They've run water lines along the roads, and they do sell water meters, which is called a tap fee. So to tap into that water main, they'll install a meter, and then you'll run off that. You'll pay them per month based on how many gallons are used. And really for us, it's about probably 60-40 community water versus water well. I'll tackle electricity next. So that's another easy one. It's either going to be overhead or underground. So I know that sounds like an infinite number of examples, but it's pretty easy to spot. You're looking for power poles that have power lines running overhead, which is pretty classic to see. Or you're looking at the little green pedestals you see every 2 or 3 lots, or a certain distances apart, maybe 300 to 900 feet, depending on the size of the transformers. You'll see those set up. That will tell you real quick if you're overhead or underground power. In any event, you can come underground to the house, which is how we do most of ours, or you can come overhead to the house if it's from overhead power. You're probably not going to go overhead from an underground transformer to the house. So that is one of the most challenging ones, particularly in that New Braunfels area. So we'll want to get it's overhead where he is. So you'll want to get started on that.
Overhead and community water.
Yeah, so in community water, that's a good thing. Makes it pretty easy. And then you got overhead power. Let's find out who the power entity is. Is it Perdaus Electric Co-op? Is it someone like that? In which case you want to go ahead and regardless of who it is, the best course of action is to set up an appointment with a representative from that entity. So get an on-site appointment set with them and find out kind of what they want. Do they want a rack system built? Do they want us to set a temporary pole? Is it going to be an underground temporary pole? Do they want to just provide the meter and we build the rack? And these are questions that we can help you phrase for them. but a lot of them have a pretty specific way they want it done. How deep it needs to be, what size conduit it needs to be, all that kind of good stuff. They have specifications on that, sometimes on their website. Sometimes they want you to come in and bring you a manila folder with their piece of paper because 1978 called and wants their instructions back. So doesn't matter how they want to do it, we can help. So that's another thing. And then finally with septic, you are most likely going to be on an aerobic system. Not necessarily. There is still such thing as conventional. It can still be done. But the county will ultimately determine that. I don't know what size lot or land you're talking about, but what we're seeing installed most of the time is the aerobic septic system, which is also called an on-site sewage facility, OSSF. And Comal County will have the stipulations to do that. Either we can do it or you can do it. The biggest part of the upfront part of the process is we'll need to get a septic system designed. So once we know kind of where the house is going to sit and where the water meter is going to be and what the building lines are and setbacks are, then either we or you can have a registered sanitarian design a septic system for the house, because it's based on number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, not necessarily the number of people currently living in the home, but the number of people that could live in that home. So in other words, like, let's say that I'm building a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house, but it's just my wife and me going to live in there. The state doesn't care about that. They care about how many people could live in that house. The home next door is a conventional system. That's good to know. And again, the hill country, we're seeing that can still be done more. That doesn't necessarily mean the rules haven't changed since they built their home. So they may be grandfathered in where they don't have to change. Now, if they ever made any changes to the house and septic system, then they have to bring it up to aerobic potentially, not necessarily. But yeah, we see conventional systems all the time still. So I'm glad to see that, because it does dispel the rumor we hear a lot of, oh, you can't put a conventional system in, it has to be aerobic. It's not necessarily true. So anyway, we help you with all that.
All right, awesome. And then Misty is sharing that she finalized her colors, cabinet pulls, cabinets, etc. Just have to wait for the finalized design from drafting for our last bit of changes.
All right, awesome. Very cool, Misty. Thanks for hanging in there. It's not exciting to see it all.
Y'all took a long time to start. I know you've been researching us for about 8 years, but like y'all hit the ground running when you were ready to go, man. So yes, that's wonderful to see. Gonna be in it soon. Let's see. Joe says thank you, and you are very welcome. Thank you for asking.
I'll ask you a question, Dawn. We'll play this tennis game. Okay. Why is Misty having to finalize all of her colors and cabinet pulls and cabinets and all that before we even go drive a nail? Like, why can't we just go start building and do that stuff later?
Because we have to order all those things. So it's a combination. So we're going to order all of those things. We're going to get all the purchase orders in place, make sure that everything is still available for her. But the biggest thing is we want you guys to know exactly how much money your home is going to cost before we drive a nail. So we want you to finalize all of those things. So we know, are you getting more expensive? How much are those countertops going to cost? How much are the cabinet pulls? How much is all of this? So that we can have all of that information and get that upfront appraisal that we get before we start building, and give all of that information over and make sure that the home that you're building is going to appraise for the amount that we need it to once we finally built it. So that's why. So our team can get everything ordered and get everything done and make it go more smoothly.
Perfect.
And let's see. Sophie is sharing, finally have our first appointment in the spring office this Sunday. We have been doing a lot of research and are ready to make the first step. Awesome. That's great, Sophie.
Hey, tell us where you're building and maybe what house you're looking at, and we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's see. One of the other things that, we get asked a lot, and Sophie may be wondering it, particularly if she's on her first appointment, is, how much can I change your plans? I like what Holly Wilson had to say on this when she was with us in San Marcos, that, really the limits of what we're going to let you do to our plans are the laws of physics, building code, and your budget. I think that was just so well phrased, because it's really true. We're going to let you change as much or as little as you want, as long as you're not violating any of those 3 things. So you can move walls, you can add rooms, you can include a garage, you can take rooms out, you can do all kinds of stuff. Also, change the exterior materials, the roof lines, etc. We really, want you to make this home your own. The images that are on this are just like an example of some things that customers do. You can see how much, was changed in this plan. These were from a real customer's plan. So just a couple guidelines before you start monkeying around with plans and making all the changes. Some things that we found give you the best chance of success and getting everything done a little bit more quickly. Take use of our pre-designed custom options. So our drafting team has invested a lot of time and energy and resources pre-designing a lot of the most commonly asked for features into our homes. And we know, like, if you build that, your refrigerator is going to be able to open when the drawer is open, the oven's going to open, everything's going to work out. All the spacing is figured out ahead of time. So it's good to start there. It's kind of counterintuitive if you're not familiar with home building, but it's actually easier to change the outside of the house than the inside. And I know that we're all, used to curb appeal, and we think about that, what the outside of our house is going to look like first. But really, it's better if you find the right floor plan and then tell us what you want it to look like. We can very easily change the exterior of the home to match your vision or get as close to it as possible. It's a lot harder to make the outside work for what you want. If you've ever seen, if we have anybody who watched Full House, the exterior of that home, like if you think about how that family lives, it's not physically possible for them to actually be in the home that they're showing you. So, it's a lot easier if you tell us exactly what spaces you need, we can adapt the outside for you. The final thing is, a lot of people fall in love with features in our larger homes and then are trying to put them into a smaller home. And that's better than trying to take our big home and make it smaller. So if you're in love with the LaSalle, tell us what those features are. Let us start with a smaller plan if you're looking for a smaller home than to try to start taking rooms out of the existing LaSalle, because it just doesn't work as well. So start small. We can add stuff in rather than trying to start with a big one and make it tiny.
Beautiful.
And I'll turn off my ring. Okay.
It could have been Mark Zuckerberg calling. You take that call.
Yeah, that was the team's noise. So it's probably the marketing team telling me I'm doing something wrong, but it's okay. I know, guys. I'm well aware. Eric, your favorite question. What is our price per square foot?
It is my favorite. It's my favorite. So yeah, I don't know when we're taught this and ingrained in our culture to ask this question, because we're never ever, last I know, we don't buy cheeseburgers by the ounce. We don't buy cars by the pound. But for whatever reason, we're trained at some point to ask about houses price per square foot. So I don't, and to say that there's a difference is an understatement, right? Are we talking about a Kia? Are we talking about, a Bugatti? Are we talking about, a cheeseburger from McDonald's on the dollar menu? Or are we talking about, a steak from Papa's Brothers Steakhouse in Dallas, Texas? Like, it's going to be different. Okay. So and houses are infinitely more complicated than either one of those two things. And yes, even more complicated than cars. So we certainly expect them to last longer, don't we? Mm-hmm. So, it's misleading. I get it's easy because you think you're comparing apples to apples, but that's not possible to do. You cannot compare apples to apples because there's no two homes built alike. But that being said, I do want to try and lay out a very simple example of why, perhaps, because it's not, we're not trying to hide anything. We're very transparent. We're one of the few builders that puts all of our pricing, at least our base pricing, on our website based on the different elevations. So nothing to hide. Here's why you want to be very cautious about asking and receiving pricing based on per square foot. So we got two very simple examples here. One's a 10 foot by 10 foot square. One's a 2 foot by 50 foot rectangle. All right. Probably not the most comfortable places, but for our purposes and for Aggie math, this is very easy. Now, 10 by 10, they both are the same thing. They're both 100 square feet of area. All right, so we know, length times width. We know that from a long time ago. So 50 times 2 is 100, 10 times 10 is 100. So the exact same square footage, identical, no different. Now, the next level question would be, how many lineal feet of perimeter do we have? All right, so we'll do the 10 by 10 square first. Seems simple. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 10 is 30, plus 10 is 40. So 4 sides, 10 feet each, 40 lineal feet in the first example. Second example, we'll do the same exercise. 2 plus 2 is 4. You're welcome. And now 50 plus 50, let's have our 100. So we got 104 lineal feet of perimeter around the exterior of the second home. Now, we're not talking about ceiling heights. We're not talking about floor coverings. We're not talking about plumbing fixtures. We're not talking about light fixtures. We're not talking about what type of roof. We're not talking about if we're doing hardy plank, stone, brick, stucco. None of that has even entered the equation yet. Is it all electric? Is it gas? Is it spray foam? Is it not? We're just talking about the perimeter of the foundation and the wall of the frame. We know for a fact the second example is going to be at least 2.5 times more material, man hours, waste. So the two of these should not cost the same per square foot, because in fact, they do not cost the same per square foot. The first example costs significantly less. And again, we're not even talking about all of the other ancillary things, cabinets, countertops, home fixtures, that really do make up a large part of the cost of the home. But just in framing material alone, exterior facade, whatever it's going to be, insulation, sheetrock, just the inside and outside of the exterior wall, we know for a fact the second one is 2.5 times more stuff. So the misleading part about this is if a builder is quoting you hey, we charge $185 a foot flat rate. Well, they're charging you for the second one. Okay. Even if you only build the first one, because they have to in case you buy it. So they're getting their cost and margins and everything covered on the second one, hopefully. And then they're making absolute gravy on you on the first one. The other misleading part about price per square foot is I could probably quote you 3 or 4 different square footages of a home, and you would not know which one I was referring to. So when a builder advertises price per square foot, is it square footage of heated and cool living area? Is it square footage of total slab area? Is it total slab area less porches? Like, what are we talking? The garage included too? Are we talking the upstairs attic area? Is that included? Like, what are we talking about here? Well, they're going to talk about whichever one suits them the most. So if you have an unusually low price per square foot, that should raise a lot of antennae. All right. To ask a lot of questions. So don't go down this road. What you want is upfront contract pricing, the fixed pricing that's got, like, what granite countertop you're getting, what cabinet level you're getting, what light fixtures, what plumbing fixtures, what the ceiling heights are, what the roof pitches are, all of those things that actually make up significant portions of the cost of the home. You should know that in the upfront contract price. And you don't want to be misled and going down the road of price per square foot, because you're not going to get the truth. It's not a fair comparison.
Yeah, and we had some like real world house plan examples in here of like these 2 houses that we pulled up off of the Google bot from our friends. These 2 houses are the exact same, like almost the exact same square foot, but obviously very different cost associated with the 2. And, we're looking at square footage of living area. Probably if this builder here was quoting by the square foot in his pricing, he'd probably pull the garage and the porch and the lanai and all of that stuff also into his square footage when they're giving you that calculation. Whereas this one, very, good house, same square footage, good layout, maybe not the same quality as the other one that we were looking at, not the same finish levels, that kind of stuff. And yeah, like Eric was mentioning, we really compare the actual price in the house, like take the house, the layout that you want, the materials that you want. And like he was saying, we try to be as transparent with that as possible. We do have the base pricing for the counties on our website. And this, is just an example of that, kind of showing what it looks like when you see it on our site. And this is for the unincorporated area. So it would be more if you're building in a city or you're building in a community that has additional cost associated with that. And the range that you're seeing there in the price is the difference on the exterior elevations. So what the outside of the house looks like, it is not the difference if you're looking at like adding a bedroom or a bonus room or any of that. That's going to be a much different cost. We're just, those ranges that you'll see on our website when you go to look at our prices are just talking about the differences in the exterior materials. So whether it's brick, border batten, or if it's got some stone going on, that's the range that you're seeing.
Brilliant.
Let's see, we've had a couple more people. Let's see, Sophie is telling us that she is going to be building in Liberty County. Her first choice house is the Canyon. And then she's got the Angelina as her second option if she needs it back up.
Pretty solid 1 and 2s. Pretty solid one.
Yeah, you could not go wrong with either one of those. I think they are actually bestseller wise. That's also our 1 and 2. And They flip back and forth. So they're very, very popular plans. Couldn't go wrong with either one. Then we've got At Home with Joy saying, sorry if this question has been asked, but about how long is it taking to build Tilson homes now? When we were looking last year, it was 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, it's half that. You're 12 to 14, in some cases a little bit less. But for the most part, it's 12 to 14 months, depending on where you're building. There's a few exceptions, some outside areas that are hitting that 16-month mark still. But that's very, very rare anymore.
Yep. So we are, I hesitate to say it, but returning to normal times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Put that in the universe. Why not?
Yeah. It's not like Facebook bombed today, so it's fine. Then we got Steve coming in from Pearland.
Beautiful.
He is also looking at an Angelina in Brazoria County as soon as he finds land. Awesome.
All right, Steve. Yeah, that's a great spot to be. Great spot to be.
It's really gorgeous. Let's see. The other most common question that we are asked is, what is our EasyBuy program? And
folks, as we're going through these, please drop your questions into the chat. You got questions about anything that's happening, like At Home with Joy just dropped into the time frame. Drop it in there. Like, that's what we're here to answer these questions for you guys. EasyBuy. EasyBuy.
EasyBuy. All right. So EasyBuy, one of the biggest differences between working with us is that, you don't necessarily need a construction loan when you are working with us, and that's our EasyBuy program. And what that is we are actually paying for the construction of your home using our own resources. So there's no need for you to borrow money to use, and you pay all the expense of borrowing the money in order for us to build your home. So what that means is that there's no construction loan or associated costs with that. You're going to have no monthly payments for your construction during construction. And a lot of times for qualified buyers, there's no down payment. Somebody mentioned they own their land outright earlier. So there's probably not going to be any kind of down payment because we're only looking for 10% equity in the final project. So as long as you have that in the value of your land, you're not going to have a down payment. And that is a much lower equity requirement than typically is out there for a construction loan. You're usually going to see about a 20% requirement for a conventional construction loan. And you're just going to have more money in your pocket during construction because you're not paying all of these fees that are associated with the loan. And then also there's kind of the peace of mind aspect to knowing that your builder actually has the money and resources and wherewithal on their own. They're financially stable enough to pay for your home and don't need you as the customer to go and borrow that money for them to be able to afford to build your home. So it is a great program if it's one that you can qualify for, and it really kind of sets us apart from everybody else. And then Steve is actually asking, what is the least amount to finance if we are paying mostly cash?
Right, that's a great question. We get a lot of people that ask that. It ends up being up to the mortgage lender. What I've seen is typically around 70,000. It's not really enough skin, and that might be down a little bit because rates are up, so you might be able to finance less. But in the last 5-7 years, because rates were so low, that didn't really make financial sense for the lender to finance anything less than $75,000 when they were loaning money out at 2.93%. But I think Fannie Mae has it in. They don't set a minimum necessarily, but probably somewhere between the $50,000 to $100,000 mark. Most of them don't offer loans under $50,000 of any kind. So I would budget to finance around $75,000. But also remember, Steve, that there's with conforming loans like they're doing now. There's with most of the lenders, all the lenders we work with, and most ones I see out there, there's no penalty for early payoff. Okay, so this is an important note just in general. The interest rate really truly only matters if you intend to pay on it for all 30 years or all 15 years. Most people historically pay the mortgage loan off early. So it's not as big of an impact if you're not. So truly, if they make you finance $75,000, it's not the end of the world, because after 6 months or a year, or in some cases after 1 month, you can turn around and just pay it off if you wanted to. You don't, in that case, the payment and the interest has a minimal impact on your overall financial situation. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. At least it did to me.
Okay, I'll take it.
All right. Yeah. We get Betty joining late as we're on our way to College Station to meet our newest grands, twins, a
Oh,
boy and a girl, born
congratulations.
6 weeks early yesterday. So
Okay.
thankful. They're out of the NICU. Oh wow, they're out of the NICU
That's
already.
great.
That's awesome. Doing great. That's wonderful.
Oh
Congratulations.
man. That's congratulations. What a blessing. That's really cool.
It's really,
What a
really
great
cool.
place to be born. Lucky them.
We've got Tanya building in Texas Grand Ranch. Sheetrock went up last week. Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
And Steve said what you said made sense. So.
Good.
And then Patty is in League City, building the Port D in Washington County near Brenham, waiting on tile, plumbing, and lighting.
Okay. All right. That's coming along nicely then. Yeah. What a great house. Brenham's a beautiful place. Beautiful place.
Yeah, absolutely. So Eric, I know we talk a lot about EasyBuy. One other thing we get asked a lot is EasyBuy the only option when financing?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you asked. So, and the answer in short is no. There are other options. So EasyBuy, I mean, broadly speaking, it's the best deal going for the majority of our customers. Because traditionally, like you said, when you're building a custom home, you're paying for it using a construction loan. So the builder needs you to go to get some type of financing, whether it's a construction loan, interim financing, whatever, and literally borrow the funds to build the house, to fund the construction. EasyBuy takes that away. However, there are some cases where it does make sense to do like a one-time close construction loan situation. One of those situations would be like a 100% VA financing. If someone's just adamant that they want to take advantage of their entitlement, which is what it is the VA financing, you can get 100%, and particularly if you don't own the land yet. Or you've just recently purchased it, maybe you don't have a lot of equity paid into it. So for our EasyBuy program, we do require that you have 10% equity position to take advantage of that, which most of our customers have because they bought the land, some time ago, or they used funds from the sale of their home to buy the land and have some cash left over. But for those customers who are looking at a piece of land and they want to use their VA entitlement to buy that land and home and all that at one time, then in those cases, a one-time close construction loan could actually make sense, where you actually close up front on the amount, for the construction loan amount and the permanent, and then you have a one-time float down. We have a partner that does this, specializes in this. This is all they do from sea to shining sea. If the rate goes up, no big deal. You're already locked in. If the rate stays the same, rate stays the same. You're already locked in. If the rate goes down, you do have a one-time float down between then and closing. So they keep an eye on that as rates are moving and as we're progressing through construction, and you can do that. Another instance to do that would be, again, a low equity situation for an FHA type of loan. So FHA, you only have to have 3.5% down, 3.5% equity position. So they'll finance up to 96.5% of the appraised value, basically. So in situations like that, where customers maybe don't have the liquidity to just come up with the difference, the other 6.5% to get to Tilson's 10% equity requirement, they'll do the one-time close construction loan option and only have to have 3.5% in. Obviously, it is a little more expensive because you are paying for those financing rates, but we have a program set up where we'd be saving you a solid portion of a lot of those lending soft costs. Roughly 3% of the deal we can undercut pretty well everybody else out there who's doing that kind of program. So yeah, if the equity is something that is uncomfortable for you, or you want to take advantage of that 100% VA financing, we can accommodate that and not have to use the EasyBuy program if you don't want to.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, because really the best financing for you is the one that gets you in the house as soon as possible at the lowest cost to you. So if you don't have the equity, or you want to use your benefits, then absolutely we can do something else for you. So,
and that's just a good 3 ways to look at the whole lending situation in general right now, right? Like, I mean, interest rates are in the news, obviously, right? But they've always been a vehicle for Americans to buy home. I mean, the 30-year mortgage didn't even exist till like 1971 or 73, somewhere in there. There was no such thing. People back then were just expected to save money and pay for a house. What a crazy idea. And that all kind of went away with the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And so, but throughout the entire history of the 30-year mortgage, the 50-year history it's been around, it's only been below 6% for like 12 of those 50 years. All the other 38 years it's been around, it's been over 6%. So what do you do with something like that, right? Well, again, historically, we could say that prices do fluctuate up and down. But broadly speaking, in the long term, the price of things go up. I don't care if it's this pen, this shirt, a house, a car, whatever, it's going to go up long term. That's what inflation does. And we got a big fast forward in inflation in the last 24 months. So that being said, if you buy today, okay, three things can happen with that interest rate. Only three things can happen. The first thing is the rate goes up. Fantastic. You've locked in for lower. Doesn't matter what the rate is today. If it goes up, you are getting a better deal than you could get 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever happens. And I don't have a crystal ball to tell you what's going to happen. The other thing that could happen to the rate is it could stay the same. Okay. No harm, no foul. You're locked in at that rate for 30 years or 15 years, whatever you locked in at. The third thing that could happen, rates could go down. Don, what do we do if I bought it at 7.1% and rates go down in a year? What am I going to do? I got hosed. I missed the boat. What happens?
You're going to refinance.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. What everybody did.
You're gonna find a different bank and you're gonna start over.
Yeah. And actually, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people do have a misconception on refinancing. You don't actually have to start all the way. Like, the clock doesn't start back over at 30 years again. Typically, when you refinance, let's say that you're 3 or 5 years in, you're only going to be financed. You can refinance for another 30 years if you want to. Pull the cash out of your house and do that. That is a strategy. Or you can, let's say you only have 27 or 25 years left on it. You just finance it for 25 or 27 years. So again, either the rate goes up and you win because you locked in at this current rate, the rate stays the same and no harm, no foul, or the rate goes down and you refinance. So I know it seems a little callous maybe to look at it that way, but it really is it's truly just a business decision.
Right.
And it's a fairly simple one. So,
well, and you look at it from the other side, there really hasn't been a time in history where property values have gone down. So, but the prices of homes do go up. So if you buy now, like there is an opportunity cost lost of, like, you're not getting the buildup in equity. If you're trying to wait for an interest rate to go down, you're potentially losing equity, but you're definitely losing time in your new home. Like, there's a reason that you want to move. And you're betting that maybe something financial happens.
If the rarity that Dawn describes actually happens and the price of homes go down, that means the price of your home too. The one that you're currently in that you're going to be trying to sell, makes it
harder to sell. Yeah.
Right. The tide raises and lowers all the boats. There has definitely not been a point in time in history where new home prices go down, but used homes stay the same. That's not a thing. So just remember that. Keep in mind, I'm waiting for prices to go down. That goes for the home that you're into. It is a supply and demand thing. So
yeah. The home that you're living in is also going to be worth less, so you're going to make less on that. So, yep, it is a universal thing. Let's see, we have a question. Are plans in works for floor plans with media plans on the first floor? If not, can that be customized? So this is actually something that we talked about in portfolio review. We were looking at it because we have done it for a couple of customers. So it's something that we're definitely talking about with the new plans that are coming out. But in the meantime, absolutely, this is something that you could customize in one of our plans. We are seeing some media rooms being done now that are actually like in the center of the house, so there's no windows. And you actually are getting like the dark effect that you would get in a theater. So yeah, that's absolutely something that we can help you customize and put into your plan.
And both the Preston and the Palo Duro are good starting points for that, for ideas. I know they're bigger homes, which it makes it easier to do them in because they're larger, but that is the case. And also there's some pretty awesome shades sold on Amazon that may or may not have been installed in the Allard house by Mrs. Allard that you can black it out.
Yes.
That's the ones that my son wanted, and it is a bat cave where he is. It's pretty simple.
He's got to set the mood for the gaming.
Oh, I know. Yeah. You can even partner them up with the lady that you talk to from time to time that may or may not be linked to Amazon. And she can open and close them for you. So
yeah, we're not going to say her name because she'll start talking to me. But
no, we're not saying her name. She who shall not be named.
Dory is asking, do y'all have additional Casita plans? And if so, where can I find them? You can actually find them on our blog. So we do right now, we offer the Casita, and there are, we've got one built as a model. It's actually our design room, our color room in our Huntsville location in Texas Grand Ranch. And then we have a second one, which is actually our 2-bedroom version with the kitchen, is in our Waco office, where it also serves as their color room, as well as some office space for our land prep guys. But the plans themselves are actually online on our blog, that you can go and look at them and see the options that we have for the Casita, because there's several exteriors available. And you can reach out to our new home specialist team to get pricing. That is not one that I put pricing on the website, because the kitchen is optional. So we want to make sure that we're talking to you when we're giving you pricing, because I don't want you to see pricing without a kitchen and then get all excited if you actually wanted a kitchen. Because we designed it originally kind of as like a pool house concept, but then it also can be expanded to be kind of an in-law space or a full second residence on your property. So
Dawn does a very good job of going out of her way to make people not mad at us. She really does. And we appreciate that very much.
I try. And then we've got Sophie saying, interest rates are one of the things holding us back. So I appreciate you talking about it. Oh, good. I'm glad.
We know it's real. I mean, we live and work too. Like we're in the same world as you are. And yeah, so I mean, thanks for listening about it, but it really is trying to be that you have to separate. I know it's hard to do, but trying to separate the emotion from it. The idea, oh man, rates were 2.9%. Now they're not. Well, no, they're not. But they're not for anybody. So don't beat yourself up, and don't get too emotionally attached to it. I know it's hard to say. We're talking about a house here, but but do make a good financial decision, and it can still be like, it's never a bad idea to improve a piece of real estate. And that's what you're doing. I know it sounds callous that we're building homes here, and we're building homes, we're building a lifestyle, but the reality is you're improving a piece of real estate. And long-term speaking, you're going to be very hard pressed to prove to me that there's a bad time to do that.
Right.
So most of our customers plan on staying in the houses a very long time. These are not short-term, quick money plays that they're trying to do here. They're in there for 17 to 25 to 40 years. So you're going to be fine.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
Beautiful. Guys, keep asking your questions. Drop them into the chat. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about it here. We know that YouTube has definitely filled the time all by themselves. Good for you folks who watch on YouTube.
Yes.
Difficulties with Facebook, being persnickety and cantankerous, and words that I can say on here, of course. But we're grateful to all you that have tuned in and watched and asked questions. But those are the main things going on. Dawn, what's happening? Let's see. We got some seminars going on for sure.
We do. We have in-person seminars happening this weekend in San Marcos, Georgetown, and Bernie. So that is happening. So that'll be a good thing for people to go to. There was one more question that I did want to address. I don't have a slide on it, but I know we can talk about it. We get asked a lot if people can bring their own plans.
Oh. Yes.
Just wanted to yes, the end.
Yeah, you can. No, absolutely you can. And Donna, there's a process to that. So kind of what should they expect? Oh, I got my own plans. Either I've bought them already, or I've paid a designer to do them, or I found actually this plan online. I really just want to get an idea about what are kind of the different thresholds they could expect, and what kind of questions should they expect from us? And
yep. So what you should expect if you are bringing us your own plans is, we talk about transparency is very big with us. We want you to know exactly what you should expect for spending with us. So what our consultant is going to do is they're going to kind of talk to you, look at the plan that you have, talk to you about what you want in it, if there's anything that you wanted to change, but they are then going to turn and grab one of our existing plans and start kind of redlining it, drawing on it. We're not a band, not that your plan wasn't beautiful, but they're trying to figure out how to give you the best price, and they can do that when they start with our plans. So they're going to pick one that's the closest to what you brought into us, make those changes, and then say, okay, here's kind of what we're looking at ballpark price wise, because we can do that right in front of you with our own plans. kind of ask you, hey, are you comfortable with that? And if you are, then we would send it off to kind of finalize it and get you a better quote after our drafting team takes a look and makes if there's any other kind of changes that you wanted to make. But we want to make sure that we're both kind of talking in the same place when we're talking about pricing before we go ahead and do a lot of work on a custom plan. So that's kind of what's going to happen there. And let's see, Sophie is asking, what can she expect from her very first meeting? What all is going to be discussed?
All right. So really whatever you want is going to be discussed. So traditionally, obviously you have we'll do, introduce, obviously greet you there at the office in spring, going to give you probably ask some questions. Maybe, we probably got some information from our online sales team about you, but really ask more kind of open-ended questions about, hey, who else going to be living in the space? You talk about the Canyon and the Angelina. We will still we will still take you through the models that we have there, the Nueces and the San Jacinto, just to kind of give you an idea of finishes and different things like that, kind of what's included, what's optional. Probably take you on a tour of the design center, the color selection room, to give you an idea too. And then, but really sit down and really do some discovery questions about how you'll be using the space. Probably run you through, we'll probably ask a lot of questions about the land, which it doesn't have to even all be finalized yet, but any information about, not necessarily the deed or any of that, we don't need that squared away just yet, but questions about utilities. What's the power situation like in the area? What is, is it water well, or is it a community water? Is it a septic system? Or is it a sewer system? Are you going to be total electric, or do you want to have some gas appliances? So those are questions that are going to be asked. And then really just any other kind of specific changes that you would need made. And ideally we could sketch those out right there in front of you and price them out of our desktop pricing e-price book, and kind of go through there and give you a kind of rundown of next steps. Probably we could talk financing for sure. We'll talk about that. We'll kind of walk you through the EasyBuy program. We have an equity calculator that they can take you through that can get pretty detailed if you want to, and then also get more information if you want to talk to a mortgage lender. I know you're talking about interest rates. If you want to be set up with a lender just to have a conversation, we can make that happen as well. But those are going to be the overarching questions, specific questions about the land, how you intend to be using it, kind of what the permitting process looks like, what the septic design process looks like, kind of what the whole front end process. So very, very overarching view. And then as specific as you want to get into, amenities, options, features, design changes, that kind of stuff.
All right. Awesome.
Hopefully they'll spare you a history of Tilson homes. You can read all that on Dawn's website. You don't have to worry about that. I'm going back to like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, once upon a time, there were the Tilson brothers. And like, I don't need all that anymore. I know all that.
Well, you know all that. She might want to know all that.
No, maybe you do. Maybe you do. If you want the abridged version,
Eric's bored with it because it's his family. It was literally his bedtime story, but the rest of us think it's kind of cool. We got Tanya asking, when we were approved and signed our contract last summer, interest rates were much lower, but we don't lock in until 30 days till closing. Is that correct?
Sorry, chomping ice. Okay, so actually you can lock in a little further out than that. You can lock in some cases 60 days out for free. Now there's some places that will lock you in for more. I think that's very risky business. Because you have to pay, and it is truly a hedge, which is a fancy Wall Street word for gambling. So it is, and if we don't hit the date, you and us collectively, you're out the money. Or in some cases, they'll let you pay a per day, per diem, to keep the rate locked. People get the feeling certain when that goes on. And again, you can refinance later. Like it's not the end of the world. So I would start looking into locking in probably more like 60 days out. So in close contact with your builder and our closing team, having those conversations. And also Tanya, we've been checking, obviously we know what people were approved at from an interest rate standpoint, basically, and when that was happening. And we are in close communications with those lenders as well, particularly with our lender partners that we work closely with, to know, hey, we maybe have an issue here or maybe not. But that's something that we're paying attention to. I would look to try and lock in maybe further out than that. But rates aren't fluctuating as much right now. They've kind of leveled off. So 30 days might be fine, particularly if it costs nothing to do that. Usually it costs nothing to lock in at 60 days either. But Can't speak for all lenders.
Yeah. All right. Steve is asking, can we get a plan customized and ballpark prices to see if we can swing it in a meeting to get started? Yeah, we can do that. If you're working off of I'm assuming you're talking about one of our plans. If you're working off one of our plans with the pre-designed options that you can see on our website, our new home specialist can actually give you an idea of what that's going to cost over the phone when you're talking with them. But absolutely, when you come in and meet with us, we can give you that ballpark.
But yeah, and Steve, there's no, we don't charge anything to come in and sit down and talk and even customize a plan more so to get it, because we really want to get it pretty granular for you. I mean, we want to get it, hey, I like this countertop, this size shower in the master with these niches for shampoo bottles and these pull-out trays in the cabinet. Like, why not? Our salespeople have to be there till 6 o'clock, whether you're there or not. So believe me, they just soon have someone
give us something to do.
They'd love to sit there and talk with you about it, and sit there and dream with you and kind of work through all the different scenarios. Create a wish list, and then you can either, hey, that's where we want to be, let's roll, or you can say, these are things I can live without, or these are things I can do later that maybe I don't need to finance right now. Things that you know that you could do later or would prefer to do later. Maybe we don't pay 7% over the next 30 years for that. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. D is asking, what is an approximate price difference if I wanted to do level 1 of LVP throughout instead of LVP and carpet combo that is included, looking at the canyon?
I knew I should have brought something like that up.
Hold on.
I don't have the pricing for that. I don't have that specific pricing up, D. I know all of our design centers would have that. I would figure it's probably, depending on the LVP and the size. I mean, you're probably $6 to $8 a square foot in lieu of carpet. If a salesperson's watching this on YouTube and I'm way off, go ahead and chime in if you like, but or don't. Or don't. But yeah, it's that's something that a sales consultant would have at the ready. A true one, a really good one. I'm a former, I'm a sales consultant in remission. But
you're an inactive one, yeah.
Inactive, to say the least.
We have Tanya saying, thank you. That makes me feel much better that y'all pay attention to the changing interest rate. So thanks for all y'all do. Oh, thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya. Yeah.
Very nice. All righty. So that is the last question I see. So if you guys if you have any more questions, get typing. And we'll
do a last call for questions. Thank y'all for bearing with us. And for tuning in, of course. Obviously, that doesn't have to end here. We have design centers open 7 days a week. We have 12 of them. They are Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sundays, noon to 6. There to answer your questions, sit down, sketch plans with you, do pricing. They'd love to see you guys. Tour you through the model homes, tour you through the design centers and color rooms, show you all the different stuff. They love doing it. So another thing is we have the website like Don talked about. So a lot of information there, including base pricing. You got new home specialists sitting on standby to answer all your questions. And they're there for that. We got Facebook, supposedly. We got Instagram. We have a YouTube channel all of you know about because, well, that's who's watching today. So
yes.
the real content gold is in YouTube. That's where all of your questions can get answered. Tons and tons of videos, how customers have customized their plans. I know we call them testimonials, and obviously, yes, those people are happy with us, but the real gold in there is to see what they did, to see the changes that they made. So that's a cool thing there, in our opinion. So lots of info there. What else is there? I think those are most places they can find us. In-person seminars like Don was talking about. What else? I'm just about stalled long enough to get to the floor and wall coverings. Just so we're all can't give up. Can't ever give up. All right. What did I say? $6 to $8 a foot?
Yeah.
$5.52 as of September the 12th, 2023. $5.52. So there you go. You stuck in long enough. You get the Eric 48-cent discount. That is for level 1 vinyl plank in lieu of carpet flooring. So I mean, you kind of do the math on a house the size of the canyon that, just take out the wet areas. So if I was feeling like an extra credit moment, I would do that, but I don't want to mess that up. But you can figure it out. All right. So with that, Dawn, anything else we need to know? Palo Duro's coming along.
So. Yeah, Palo Duro's coming along. Waco is up and running and beautiful. Yeah, we're doing good. That's what's going on.
Hey, we appreciate
we do have some
watching.
Exciting stuff coming in October potentially, but we'll tell you more about that later.
Sure do. All over the state, in fact. We got some couple places we're doing some exciting things. So okay, so folks, thank you for jumping in and joining us. Thanks for asking the questions. Those of you who are customers, thank you so much for trusting us. That means a lot to our family, to the Tilson family, everybody who's working here supporting a local Texas owned and operated family owned company. Thank you so much. Looking forward to visiting with each and every one of you. And until then, we really soon to hope make you part of the Tilson family. We'll see y'all later.
Bye, everybody.